my dear subscribers, Natalia here. Welcome to the fourth episode of my podcast Natalia Stages Ukraine, which describes how Russia's ongoing war on Ukraine is affecting Ukraine's cultural heritage. Today, we'll talk about how the war is destroying our memories of prominent Ukrainians who helped shape Ukraine's cultural identity and contributed to global human legacy. On the 7th of May 2022, the list of some 120 cultural heritage sites destroyed by the Russian army in Russia's ongoing war on Ukraine has been updated to include yet another Ukrainian cultural facility. This time around, the lot fell on the Memorial Museum dedicated to a certain H.Skovoroda. The blow came just as Ukraine was getting ready to mark the 300th anniversary of his birth. Who on earth was the man, and why did Ukraine spare no effort to collect and preserve everything and anything connected with him for the coming generations? Ask any Ukrainian, and he or she will tell you that he was an outstanding Ukrainian philosopher and poet, a household name across Ukraine. Still, I took the trouble of doing a quick internet search, and here's what I found. H.Skovoroda was the founder of East Slavic philosophy, itinerant teacher, theologian, poet and musician. Since the age of 11, Hryhorij lived on his own, apart from his parents. He studied at Kiev Monastery Academy in Kiev, which is the oldest institution of higher learning in Ukraine. Later on, he taught poetic art at Pechersk and Kharkiv collegiums. These were closed secondary schools specializing in providing philological and philosophical education. Although he was a person of all-round ability who was endowed with many talents, he was repeatedly fired from or quit the position of teacher at schools he taught at because of his strong views and beliefs. A vagabond at heart, for 25 years he led a nomadic life, traveling on foot from one place to another in search of enlightening experiences. I, for one, think that he earned his living largely due to his artistic genius, sunny disposition, and a network of well-off friends and acquaintances who were attracted to him because of his eloquence and wisdom, as well as the musical pieces he produced and performed. A gifted tutor and an ingenious poet, he stayed in the homes of the local nobles, teaching their offspring or entertaining their friends and relatives with his playful, lively and whimsical poems and songs. A master of 6 musical instruments, including the violin, the organ and the flute, he also performed his own songs to the public at large. I suppose if he lived today, we would call him a singer-songwriter. As a prolific author, he produced quite a few fables, poems, songs and philosophical dialogues which exist in the manuscript form. He wrote his works in several languages, such as Old Church Slavonic, interspersed with Russian, Ukrainian and Polish expressions, and Latin. He taught Greek and had knowledge of German and Hebrew. Here's a short snippet from one of his poems, which is still widely quoted in modern-day Ukraine. Every city has its own character and rights. Each head has its own mind. Every heart has its own love. Every throat has its own food. Now have a listen to the original version. Всякому городу нрав и права, всяка имеет свой голова, всякому сердцу своя есть любовь, всякому горлу свой есть вкус каков. In his lifetime, that is for the better part of the 18th century, anything and everything in the Russian Empire was under the double control of the two power structures, the Tsarist government and the church, which supported each other in their struggle for people's bodies, minds and souls. As a moderate orthodox rather than a fundamentalist, he took everything he saw around him with a big pinch of salt. As an incorrigible skeptic, I think he even doubted the truth and value of what he read in the Bible, which was his handbook for many years, by the way. So it's hardly surprising that today some images of him feature him with the Bible in his hand or under his arm. Once when he was attending, mind you, one of the most powerful monasteries of the Russian Empire, the monks began to urge him to take monastic vows and become a pillar of their community. Disgusted at the idea, he replied, "The temple of God has enough uncouth pillars like you. It doesn't need more." Wherever he was or worked, he didn't stay there for a long time. He was always on the go, or ready to set off on a journey, ready to hit the road. Here's a very detailed verbal portrait of H.Skovoroda, left by his favorite student and devotee. He would set aside no more than 4 hours a day for sleep, and would get up before dawn, and, weather permitting, he would go for a walk out of town in the gardens. Always cheerful, carefree, agile, mobile, ascetic, virtuous, pleased with everything, sympathetic, humiliated before everyone, talkative unless he was forced to speak. He drew a moral from everything and sympathized with any human condition. He visited the sick, comforted the saddened, shared one piece of bread with the poor, chose and loved friends owing to their own hearts. He was pious but not superstitious, and he was educated but not arrogant, and he lived his life without indulging in flattery." End of quote. When his days were numbered, he returned to his native land, a small village in eastern Ukraine. As I am speaking to you right now, this part of Ukraine, which is called the Kharkiv region, is being buffeted right and left by the Russian army. But back then it was an idyllic spot, a little piece of heaven on earth. It was there that at the age of 72 he dug his own grave near his beloved oak tree, took a bath, changed clothes and died. Oh my God, it seems that he was one of those of the chosen few who could foresee their impending death. He asked that there be no cross at his grave, only a stone with the epitaph, "The world chased me but didn't catch me," meaning that the world couldn't get at him or deceive him with its fleeting glitter and sparkle. Over time, in 1972, a memorial museum was set up near the mansion where he died. It was reduced to rubble on the 7th of May 2022 after a Russian missile hit the building. Currently, work is in progress to restore the building to its former shape and form. Luckily, the essential exhibits had been shipped to a safe location well ahead of the strike. What is more important, though, is that Skovoroda's tombstone with the famous epitaph remained intact. I think if Hrihori lived today, he might very well respond to the Russian artilleryman who fired that deadly missile in his favourite fictional style. "You may take aim at me, but you'll never hit me." And that's it for today. You may leave your comments either on this podcast hosting platform or on my Natalia Stages YouTube channel. Also, please donate any amount of money you think appropriate to help me continue producing my podcast and videos about Ukraine. You can get in touch with me via email interpreter.in.kiev@gmail.com. Kiev is spelled as K-I-E-V. Until next time, from me, Natalia Kirshina. Goodbye.